One of the easiest ways to get print-on-demand ideas is to hang out at like a big box store like a Walmart or a Target. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of things that I found in the local Walmart and what my thought process is for me to generate print-on-demand ideas. So join me as we jump into Walmart and let's go hang out at the big box store. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, it's pretty easy to get ideas for print on demand at the Walmart. You just go wander around and see what t-shirts are there and just copy those t-shirts. I absolutely do not do that, and that's not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. In fact, I hate this idea, and the reason is twofold. Number one, these sort of shirts that you're going to see at Walmart, things like Coca-Cola, Captain America, Baby Yoda, Batman, whatever it is, they're all trademarked. And so there's no point in generating these for sites like Redbubble or even Etsy in a lot of occasions because your account's just going to get banned. The other thing too is you can't really compete with the prices. These shirts that I'm seeing right now, these are all like $13. I'm in Canada, so it's probably more like $10 US. And the prices are just crazy at Walmart. So there's no point in competing for actual garments on, as far as prices go. I mean, this is an all over shirt that I saw, a Batman all over shirt, and it was on clearance for like $10 Canadian. So that's like $8 US. There's just no point. So that's not what I'm talking about in this video. I'm not looking even at shirts for the most part when I'm looking at print on demand designs. So let's jump in and see what we're actually going to see here at the local Walmart. The first one is I go over to the crafting section and I'll often see things like here's watercolor paints. You can see here on the right hand side there's a 14-piece set and it says inspired watercolors. And what they'll have often is some sort of a little design like to show off what you can do. And this one says find happiness in the small things. This is just a nice idea. You could have a circle of flowers or some sort of floral design and then some sort of little saying in the middle. So it's sort of a 2-for-1. There's the actual design and the actual text, but then you could go meta with this and you could go, okay, the idea is you have some sort of round design with any sort of text. It could be any inspirational saying or positive uplifting thing, or maybe you switch it and you do something funny and you put something really snarky in the middle. Like, you have this beautiful floral design and it says, I like cats, but I don't like you, or something like that, right? So you can always flip it around pretty easily as well. One of my biggest inspiration points is the greeting card or the birthday card aisle. And so there's just a myriad of, endless possibilities here. So I'll often just walk around with my camera and just, if I see something that's funny, I'll just take a quick snapshot. And it doesn't need to be funny either. Here's one, for example. It just says, you're a spark of goodness that brightens the world. And what I like about this design is it's circular. It's got a pattern on it. It's blue, white, red, and then it's got just basically Market Deco font in the middle. And it's got like sort of a sunbeamy thing. And I just thought that would look great on a t-shirt. That would look great on a greeting card, a framed print. There's all sorts of different ideas. And so, you just look to the one to the left. There's a hand-drawn hand holding some flowers. There's a funny cat here down at the bottom. There's so many different ideas in the greeting card aisle. So I would just encourage you to just go wander through and, you don't need to copy it exactly. And obviously if it just says happy birthday or something, that's not what you would take, but there's all sorts of inspiration you can draw. Like just the idea of a dog in a top hat with a monocle. That's a great idea. So you could pick any design, you could pick any animal and find just a PNG of a top hat and a PNG of a monocle and stick them on, and now you've got 30 designs. Here's a lady with a large megaphone, an old-timey megaphone. That's another one. You could find an old random picture of an old-timey lady with a megaphone, and then you could have any sort of funny cheer, and if it rhymes, people lose their minds. They think it's hilarious. And so that's another idea. If you're not good at finding funny designs, the greeting card aisle can be a great place. Here's another one. This is just the crafting aisle again, and this is really basic. So here's just stenciling letters. So this, again, you might look at this as you're walking through the Walmart and go, well, how are you going to get inspiration from stenciling letters? But what will happen is you can see things like this one right in the middle. It says love, and it's hand stenciled. And then right there, it's a little tiny picture. It's got a framed print and it says love. This whole thing is like a couple inches big. You can see it here in this other picture. This is really tiny. And so I've got to zoom in here and you can see This is a frame print, wood background, wood heart, and love. So what I love about this is there's actually three with the frame, but there's two wood backgrounds. There's a white wood background with horizontal lines, and then there's a heart with a slightly darker wood. Well, that's great. I actually hadn't thought of that before as an idea. So now the next group of printing that I'm going to do is going to be white or a light colored wood with a darker color wood, and then whatever the phrase is in the middle. So it wasn't so much the word that I liked, although that's great. What I really like is the idea of having a heart on white wood. Thought that looked really nice. Here's another one. It says, never stop exploring. And then up top here, it says true north, strong and free. This is like a Canadiana section. Now, Canadiana is trademarked. So I would encourage you, when you see stuff like this, to always run it through a Justia or a trademark checker. You don't just want to blindly copy this design. But what you could do is take a look at it and go, do I like this? Obviously, Walmart liked it enough that they stuck it in all of their stores, at least in Canada. And so here's an example of where you have a black background, white font. Exploring is like a handwritten font, and then it's just a very simple silhouette of the mountains. So you could certainly do this type of design, having mountains in the middle, and then have all other types. Me likey the hikey. I love to go hiking. You can flip it again. Every design you can think of, you can double it by having the opposite and make it quote unquote funny. I hate hiking. With a, imagine having a coffee mug that says, I hate hiking, and there's mountains. Somebody's going to think that's funny. And so you would, sell that. Here's one that says, go jump in the lake. And it's interesting, this one, because the mug itself looks great. The text, I like the way the text looks, because go is big, lake is really big, jump, they're all different size texts. We got go is different than lake is different than jump is different than in the. And then really, there's no picture of a lake. There's just this weird arrow at the top and this weird arrow at the bottom. So that opens up a whole plethora of ideas for me going, any funny saying, you could stick an arrow on the top and an arrow on the bottom, and it seems to look okay. It's not something that I personally would have come up with, but I like the way this looks. So you could have, I hate Mondays, arrow, arrow, or you could have, please get lost, arrow, arrow. I know the arrows are directional, right? So you could have that. So there's a lot of different ideas you can get just from looking at coffee mugs. This one here just says true north, strong and free. It's got a little Canadian flag, relax, Canadiana style. Now, obviously, I would not copy Canadiana because that's trademarked, but true north, strong and free, that's part of the national anthem. So I would check to see if that's trademarked, but if not, that's an idea as well. Here's one I really like. This is a pillow that was in the Canadiana section, and it's a funny dictionary or like encyclopedia entry. And so this is really popular. And what I like about this is it's so long because it's a bunch of text that you can do two things with it. One, you can do a template. So you can just set this up in Photoshop or Affinity Photo or Inkscape, and you can type out some sort of a dictionary, meaning. And the other thing I really like is this is so long that chances are very, very low that this would ever be trademarked. This is a huge bunch of text. And so it's not just one or two words. So this is the word a, because I'm in Canada, we say a lot. And so, this is like funny, but think about where you're from. Whatever country you're from, there must be funny, weird sayings that the rest of the world goes, wow, why do they say that? So for example, just off the top of my head, I think people in Great Britain, they use all sorts of what I think are strange words like lorry and loo and, lift. And it's like, oh, well, I think that's kind of neat. So if you have a British person living somewhere else around the world, they may buy a British pillow. I'm Canadian, so if I, maybe if I was living overseas, this pillow would really speak to me. Now, Walmart's not selling this overseas, but they're certainly selling it in Canada. So there's an opportunity there. You could make something similar, but sell it on a site like Redbubble or TeePublic, because that would speak to, say, a Canadian not living in Canada. A Great Britain, British person not living in England or Great Britain. Here's just a really simple design in the pillows section. This one just says home, and it's just got like a silhouette of antlers and a flag. So I'm always on the lookout for these type of designs because they're really easy to do. It's just a silhouette and a public domain maple leaf flag, and then text that's really large. So what I really like about this design is how big the text is. Having big, bold text on designs often really speak. And you'll notice a lot of these designs have white text. It's especially if you're a beginner in print on demand, you typically will start off doing black text designs because it just doesn't occur to you to do white text because it's hard to look at in Photoshop or whatever software you're using. But I would encourage you to try to do white text designs. That's actually one of the most popular types of designs. Here's a sign that says, when you love what you have everything you need. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go open up a woodworking shop in your garage and you start cranking out $60 woodworking signs, although if you can do that, hey, good on you. But what I am suggesting is, here's a nice saying that you could basically incorporate into some sort of Redbubble or TeePublic or Merch by Amazon design. So this could go on a t-shirt. You notice all the text is different and there's a little divider in the middle. So this is what I'm looking at in real time when I'm walking around the store. I'm going, all the text is different. They're all different sizes. Some are serif, some are sans serif. There's a little bit of a divider in the middle. And you could basically incorporate this into a t-shirt if you wanted. Just make little rectangles with, black rectangles with white text on it. Even the text is different. This is white text and this is black text. Here's another one. Rules signs are pretty popular. You could have kitchen rules, bathroom rules. You could have workshop rules, garage rules, school rules, family rules, mom rules, dad rules. I mean, the list goes on, right? So this is pretty easy. It's just like a Roman font and then fill it, close it, clean it, wipe it, shave it. And that's a different type of font. So pretty easy, design. And you could scale that up, pretty easily as well. Some of these are just really simple, like this one, same day laundry service, family owned and operated. Now, again, I'm not suggesting you just copy this design exactly, but what I'm suggesting is you take this idea, this look and feel of it. So here we've got tiny font at the top, some sort of chalk font in the middle, and then tiny font at the bottom, a couple dividers. It's a black chalk background. And it's like, could you make something better than what's at the Walmart? So could you have a cheeky sign, a rude sign, a funny sign, the opposite of what it is? It says, welcome to our home here. Maybe you have a sign that looks beautiful and it says, you are not welcome to our home. Just as an example, right? But there's lots of stuff here. You'll notice as well, a lot of these designs, in fact, all of these designs that I'm looking at, they're not trademarked. These are all just ideas. So Farm Sweet Farm, and there's a cow and a pig and a chicken. That's like a pretty standard idea. You could have Farm Sweet Farm with 3 different types of animals. You'll notice that the pig and the cow and the chicken are distressed. Well, you could make a similar type of sign where they're not distressed. Maybe you make a bright neon sign. Maybe you make you invert it. You have chalk background with white font. There's all sorts of different ideas just walking through this aisle. You'll notice there's a chicken here at the top too. This is just a watercolor picture of a chicken on a white background. Sometimes simple is best. Here's just a black and white horse. So for example, you could go to Raw Pixel and you could pick all sorts of public domain floral and animal prints. Simply remove the color. So that's called desaturation. You just go into Photoshop or whatever program you're using and you desaturate the photo. And that gives you a really nice black and white design, either on a white background or a black background or a chalk background or vintage paper background, a brick background. There's all sorts of different backgrounds. The wood one is really popular as well. Here's maps. So maps are really popular too. I've got a couple of videos on how to do maps there. Just check out the channel, to see if there's a map tool on Crafty Stacks as well. That's the other channel. So you can check out maps, but this is really easy, and this is at Walmart. So what this does is, I'm not going to rip off this exact map, but what I'm looking at when I see this is I'm going, I can probably make a better looking map. I mean, this is pretty simple, but I like, for example, chalk background and white. And, this one says New York City, New York. Well, what about a little US flag down at the bottom? What about a flag that looks a bit chalky? What about, there's all sorts of different designs. What about making the map longer and more, rectangular? So there's lots of different ideas for maps. Maps is a very popular genre. This is just a saying. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. This is just regular Futura font or something similar to it. And it's just a white background. And so again, it doesn't need to be super, ridiculous. I spent hours on this design. It's just plunk in a text phrase, and you can make up something positive, especially if there's something in your life that speaks to you. I'm not suggesting you turn into Gandhi or the Buddha or something, but there's all sorts of little phrases that we use in our lives, and you go, maybe I'd like to build out from my own life and create positive, motivational, or even demotivational phrases. And again, those would be funny as well. Here's just a watercolor picture. So you could take any picture from Raw Pixel, for example, a picture of an animal, a horse, a cow, whatever, run it through a watercolor filter, and you're basically off to the races. Now you've got a nice watercolor, and you can just stick it on a vintage paper background, and you're in business. Here's another one with a cow, and we've got flowers on the forehead. So this is just merging two different genres. We've got a picture. Pretend you go to Raw Pixel, for example, and you grab a picture of a cow. Then you go to Raw Pixel, you grab some flowers, you stick the flowers on the forehead, and that's it. That's the design. It's a very easy, quick win. It's almost like a life hack. You just take two pictures, stick them together, and it's the juxtaposition of the flowers on top of the cow that makes the design work. Here's a burlap background below. Burlap background, very easy font. Looks like a lemon mint font or something like that. Just a little tiny coffee silhouette. And now this is a burlap board. Okay, so the idea here is you buy the burlap board and you're going to stick like little pins in it with your little to-do stuff. So I get that this idea is not going to work for something like a Redbubble because they don't sell burlap, framed prints. However, you could certainly do a similar looking phrase. It's the look that I'm looking at here. It's black font. It's sort of a Comic Sans font. It's a little tiny silhouette. That's what I'm looking at that I think could work. This one's just a handwritten font. It just says good vibes. It's on a pillow, and you could have something very similar on a t-shirt, and you could come up with all sorts of sayings using that phrasing and that sizing, and that's how you scale up on Redbubble very easily. So I would have a template in Photoshop that's maybe a square, and I would write good vibes. Then I would write bad vibes. Then I would write I hate Mondays, and I would write I heart, Fridays, like TGIF, like whatever it is, right? Like you'd come up with a bunch of sayings. Again, you'd check them, you'd run them through the trademark, check. You'd make sure that none of them are trademarked, and then that's it. You just have this nice font. The reason that this works is because the font is a very good looking font, and it's just a white and black background. I don't know what that stain is there though on the bottom of the pillow. That's kind of weird. So obviously it's been sitting there for a while. Anyway, somebody with a little bit of popsicle hands there grabbed it, but you get the idea. Good vibes though is a great idea, and because nobody wants to buy this crappy stained pillow at Walmart, maybe you have a chance of selling something similar on Redbubble. This one just says welcome, and I think this is a really nice idea, because it doesn't always have to be witty and funny and a genius saying. This is just a utility pillow. Somebody would put this on their couch in their living room facing the front door so that when someone comes in, they go, oh, welcome, I feel good. So you could have all sorts of ideas, like a welcome is just one of them. I love family. Hello, that's another big one. I'm like, you can't get any more boring than that, right? Hello, there you go, right? So there's all sorts of just sort of utility ideas that you can draw from this as well. I like this one. This is just speaking to the idea that you're watching Netflix under the blanket and it's snowing. I mean, I'm in Canada, so it's always snowing, but the idea is, you're staying home. And so you could have sorts of these cuddly ideas. Now, this is a pillow, but this could translate as well to a t-shirt, even a framed print. They're really popular for bedrooms as well. Let's stay inside and snuggle, let's stay inside and, do whatever kind of thing. Now, I do want to point out, up until now, I have not been looking at t-shirts or hoodies or any sort of clothing. I've been wandering around the Walmart looking at different ideas that are not clothing. But I do sometimes go run through the clearance section in the t-shirt aisle or the hoodie aisle. You'll notice here, this is a Deadpool hoodie. I obviously am not looking at that. I'm looking at it for me, but I'm certainly not looking at it to design. But I would look at something like this. Now, there's a signature brand, Levi Strauss does, and I'm not ripping off the word signature with 2003 because I don't want to get busted for any sort of trademark. But it's the idea of having double font at the top that's like got yellow. You'll notice there's yellow font underneath. There's a year, which I wouldn't worry about the year, but I like the circular pattern. Notice the circular pattern. It's not necessarily intuitive to new designers to have a yellow and a white silhouette. And then you'll notice they have a circular design going out. It's like radiating. So there's 1, 2, 3 circles, and then the word California underneath it. So you could remove the word signature or replace it with something else. Surfing. Remove the year, have the word California, then you could have Texas, Florida, 50 states. There's actually 200 countries. So you could do anything. And it's this idea of the way this looks with the circular design and then 1, 2, and 3 small white circles out. That's nice. I hadn't seen that before. I thought that looked good. Here's another one. I don't think this is a particularly nice looking shirt. It's probably why it's in the clearance section. But it says hike out. And then there's this really crappy, I think, picture of a hike. I mean, it's a square picture. Like, this is not that great. So this is when I see something like this, I ask myself, can I make this better? Can I remove the blue background? Would I have a picture of a mountain, maybe a better picture of a mountain, and then have a different phrase? You could use hike out, but you could also do, I like hiking. Let's go hiking. Hiking question mark, I'm in, and you could have hiking question mark with this font and then I'm in big handwritten font. So there's all sorts of ideas. And really it's just the genre here. I look at hiking and go, oh yeah, that would work. This one says born to drink, forced to work. So there's all sorts of ideas that come to my mind when I see a shirt like this. First of all, I don't really like the font. This forced to work at the bottom is so tiny. I think that looks kind of bad. This is a really crappy looking piece of clip art. However, the idea is it's a construction helmet and a couple beers. So I ask myself, can I make this better? Born to drink at the top, and then I have a construction helmet, and then it says forced to work, and then underneath it would be a martini, a beer, a shot glass, a Mai Tai. There's all sorts of scaling. This is what I mean when I say scaling, is this design right here. You can make this design better in so many ways. You could also even put the city, forced to work in Toronto, forced to work in Vancouver, forced to work in London. You could niche it down with locations. You could niche it down with professions. You could niche it down with the different types of alcohol. There's just countless opportunities. You could get 200 designs out of this one crappy shirt. The dad, it says that this says the dad, the man, the myth, legend, and you'll notice there's periods at the end, and this legend is in different color font. Again, it's just text, right? So you could scale this up. You could do brother, mother, brother-in-law. That's a good one. Sister-in-law. Those are like, the more niche you go, the less opportunity there is because the more opportunity there is because the less designs exist. Now, I've got a bonus tip here for you as well. This just happened randomly. I was getting ready to record this video and I got a gift in the mail from a friend of mine. So this showed up and it says, sorry, I have plans with my cat. So I've got my old water bottle there in the back, and now we've got a new water bottle here in the middle. And in the front, it says, sorry, I have plans with my cat, with a little tiny cat silhouette. It's just a little white outline of a cat face. And this just goes to show the difference between a stock water bottle and a funny water bottle, right? So this is not overwhelming. This design is not like in your face, huge font. Oh, I love my cat. It's more like, sorry, little tiny chalk font. I have plans with my cat. It's very subtle. And especially for women, they like subtle designs. They like classy, subtle, elegant designs. So that's something that you could look at, as well, is the idea that if you get a gift at your house, or if you're buying a gift for someone, just remember in the back of your mind, maybe it's a gift to the world as well if I create this in print on demand. So I hope you found that helpful. It's basically 25 minutes of me ranting and raving like a lunatic about me hanging out in Walmart like a creep. But I really hope you guys found this helpful, because you can find different ideas, not necessarily just in the clothing section. You can find it in all sorts of sections, birthday card sections, all over the different stores. So take care, guys. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, by the way, hit the like button. That would be much appreciated. Take care. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching.